I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello. Welcome to Black Teen News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and we're going to be talking about a Michigan church shooting that happened the other day that killed 4 people. A man drove into the church, and the church is unsalvageable, and it's just a horrific thing that happened. They're still investigating. It seems like this person was obviously unwell and maybe had some religious, some issues, I don't know, with Mormons, but that's still being investigated, but it's a really terrible situation. I also want to talk about JK Rowling, and she decided to speak up about Emma Watson, who's been an ally of the trans community, which she's trying to, I guess, hold space for both ideas that JK Rowling can be grateful to her and things that she says are true, but also like respecting this community at the same time. And folks are very unhappy about it. Her comments like broke earlier last week, and we didn't talk about it. I don't think I mentioned, at least to you guys, and I meant to, I just never got around to it. And she was being eaten up by, trans activists or whatever, for not just totally wanting to, I guess, burn JK Rowling. But JK Rowling decided to go ahead and publicly say something. And man, she clapped back at her for sure. Also want to talk a bit about these people in my comments about this Charlie Kirk stuff, and how a lot of these people, they don't like facts. I don't think they care about racism, because they themselves are racist. It's all about power structures and how they can wield their victimhood to bludgeon someone else in the head. That's what I think a lot of this is about, because now we are emerged. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I've certainly started to notice this. I'm now in this phase, or seeing this phase of people don't even want to post the receipts. Well, they don't have real receipts or whatever, but they don't even want to post the claims that they're making about Charlie Kirk, because we will just say, oh, the context, as if context is a silly idea, as if context is just a super silly thing. And so these people don't care about the facts, nor do they understand how conversations and language and critical thinking all work. So we got quite a bit to talk about today. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blackteennews.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost a stream, run my site, all that good stuff you guys can support. I very much appreciate it, and appreciate you guys. If you're wondering why the title is the way that it is, in case you saw it, the title is what it is because that's the quote from JK Rowling about Emma Watson not realizing how ignorant she is, which is just like a beast of a thing to say. Like, you really shouldn't like tick off writers, man. because that's their profession, man. Being able to flesh those thoughts out. But yeah, you guys can support on the website. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the website, different t-shirts and so on. You guys can also check out different books that I have. So I want to give a little update, because I told you the next time that you saw me that Bigger would be available for pre-order. I am trying to figure out like one last thing on my website as far as setting it up. So I hope to have everything up tonight. So definitely tomorrow, when you see me at some point in time today, I hope that'll be up. But I was literally just trying to like cram it, get it done on my website to have up, and I just could not. It's a discount code, by the way. I want to figure out the discount code for you guys. So I have to like contact, I don't know, the website company because I cannot find a tutorial on this, and I just don't know why it's not doing the thing that I wanted to do, and maybe it can't do the thing that I wanted to do. I don't know, but we're going to try to figure it out. And if it can't be figured out, I guess it'll just have to be what it is right now. But we are very soon approaching that moment where you guys can go ahead and pre-order bigger. So very excited about that. Very excited about the signing that we're going to have. It should be a really fun time. I'm very proud of this book, very proud of the work they put into it. I love the story, I love the so much about it. And I'm really excited to share it with you guys. I know we've been talking about it for a while, so very excited to talk about that and have it out there. Also, and then I guess after that, it'll be the next thing. It'll be the next thing. There's always going to be a next thing because I just really, 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 really love to write. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on that. Okay, so first thing I want to tackle is this story about a Michigan church shooting that happened. There was a fire. The building is like just went up in flames. The shooter set the building on fire and killed 4 people. So this happened in Grand Blanc. I actually found out that someone I know knows this person who committed these atrocities. I don't know that much personal stuff because I just this person called another like family member or whatever, I guess to talk about it a bit, but I just looked at the group chat message and I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's new information for me that I have to figure out later. If there's anything that, I guess I can see if she said anything about them, but really eerie. How messed up in the head some people can be and you just don't know it, or some people they do know stuff. And I don't know, there's a lot of folks out here who need help and they just don't get the help that they need. And unfortunately, things like this happen. Nope, there's no kind of info about them. So if I find out anything that you guys don't know, I'll let you know. But Grand Blanc is not too terribly far. 4 people were I'm reading the NBC article. 4 people were killed and several others wounded Sunday when authorities say a man opened fire at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, and set it ablaze with a federal official called an act of targeted violence. At least 2 of the 4 victims were fatally shot. Police said 8 of the people were wounded, with 1 in critical condition and 7 who were stabilized, Township Police Chief Bill Renee said. Authorities were still searching through the debris of the church, but said everyone is accounted for as of Monday morning. The suspect, Thomas Jacob Sanford, a 40-year-old former Marine, was killed by law enforcement. Just plowing into, it's terrible, someone coming in with an opening fire like that, but plowing into the building with a car. Pretty horrific. Here's how the attack unfolded. At 10:25 Sunday, a gunman drove a vehicle into the church, got out, and opened fire with an assault rifle, Renee said. The first officers arrived within 30 seconds of initial reports, and law enforcement killed the shooter in the church's rear parking lot 8 minutes after the first reports, he said. Authorities believe the shooter was able to spark a fire that eventually enveloped the church before it was contained. 8 people were treated at Henry Ford Genesis Hospital on Sunday, and 2 remain in critical condition the following day, according to the chief of staff, Dr. Michael Danick. Paula Mazer was among the worshipers in the church for a Sunday service. We heard a big bang and it blew the doors in the church, and then everything after that was chaos, Mazer told NBC affiliate. Mazer said she and others ran outside where she and a friend got in a car. The gunman also went outside, Mazer said, and continued to fire. 3 bullets struck the car Mazer was in. She said one of which grazed her friend's hand. Janet Pera, who lives nearby, told the news station that she and her family were leaving their home when they saw police vehicles and fire trucks racing toward the scene and heard gunshots. Amid the chaos, Pera said the family ended up in the church parking lot. There were bodies laying on the sidewalk. She said there was one laying in the back of someone's truck and then had just got shot maybe a couple times in the leg. Oh gosh. It's not clear what motivated the shooting, and officials did not disclose whether there was any known connection between the suspect and the church. The FBI is investigating the incident as an act of targeted violence. Reuben Coleman, the acting special agent in charge of the Bureau's Detroit field office, said during the news conference Sunday night, "This act of violence has no place in our state or anywhere else in the country." Coleman said the FBI is committed to continue finding out the facts, circumstances, and motives behind the tragedy. More than 100 witnesses have been interviewed, Coleman said Monday, with more interviews still to be done. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is also aiding the investigation. James Deere, so special agent in charge of the ATF's Detroit field office, said an investigation indicates an accelerant believed to be gasoline was used by the suspect to set the blaze. He also said suspected explosive devices were found at the site, but it's not clear if those sparked the inferno. Renee said the church is a total loss as a result of the fire, and there are some people still unaccounted for. Let me show you the aftermath. So, none of the victims had been identified as of Sunday night, and the officials said the responders were in recovery mode, shifting through the debris and blaze for accidental bodies and evidence. Sanford of Burton, a city roughly 6,000 miles of Grand Blanc Township, has a military background. Sanford joined the Marine Corps in 2004 and held the titles of organizational automotive mechanic and vehicle recovery operator during his time in the service, according to the Corps records. His service included deployment from August 2007 to March 2008 under Operation Iraqi Freedom. According to the Corps, he had become a sergeant and had his last duty assignment at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. According to the Corps, he left the military in June 2008, according to the records. Yeah, so there's nothing here about, I mean, there could be in other reports about other motivations and stuff, but what a horrific thing. What a horrific thing. By the way, I've seen people talk about this story, and in the midst of this news breaking out, people are like, this occurred at a church. This is an attack on Christians. And then there are a lot of that were like, Mormons aren't Christians. And I think there's some significant theological differences that I guess I could go into if I thought it was an appropriate time. That's not an appropriate time to hash those things out, by the way. So just grieve with those who grieve and mourn, with those who mourn. Pray for their families and whatever. It's very easy to point at gun violence, and if someone has, people bring up gun control all the time. If you actually have a good policy that you could throw out there that would, not infringe on law-abiding citizens' rights, go ahead and name it, because a lot of people they say stuff and they don't have any solutions other than just I guess they don't have solutions. They're like, do something, do something, do something. And they don't know how much goes into actually buying a firearm. Steven Crowder would convert people on the gun subject just by having them buy a firearm or taking people to the range or whatever. So a lot of people don't even understand the issue a lot. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, gun control after Charlie got shot." It's like that's a single shot bolt action rifle. Like, are you, and I would say to people like, unless you want to confiscate like every single gun in the United States of America, you know, how are you going to stop something like that? Because not it's because they'll act like, oh, we gotta stop all these like things that have these magazines with 50 million bullets and limit the bullets and it was a single shot, something that people use with to hunt with and stuff. So they always claim they don't want to confiscate guns, especially like ones for like hunting or whatever. So what do you do in a situation like that? Um, but there is a serious issue with mental health, how people are treated in this country with mental health. I've also mentioned that we make people crazy in this country. Like people don't want to seek the truth, know the truth, and they want to live in their conspiracy theory land. And it's bad on the left, real bad on the left. We talk about it being on the left a lot, but there's people on the right too that like to live in conspiracy land. Like Charlie Kirk would talk about all these people who would obsess with the Jews and stuff, and their hatred for the Jews and Jews, not just being Israel, their issues, but a lot of these people, they criticize Israel, and it's rooted in a lot of their dislike of the Jews and conspiracies around that stuff. And he says it's brain rot, and it is brain rot. But just like people on the left, they're always like trying to blame stuff and like, oh, it's systemic racism, it's this and it's that, and people don't learn to take accountability for themselves and fix their own lives, and everything is always someone else's fault, and it's oppressed versus the oppressor matrix, and because you're oppressed, it's okay to use violence against the oppressors. And that's how a lot of people justify like October 7th and stood up with Hamas out just, and I don't mean like after the war started and there were the casualties. I mean before Israel even did anything, you had people coming out immediately saying like, oh, we don't condemn. I mean, we're not saying we're for this, but they were justified in doing it. There's a ton of people saying that. There's all kinds of commentary about that and different like, BLM stuff pushing that sort of idea. There was that letter, I think it was like kids from Harvard or something that signed it, and then people started like pulling their money from these institutions and wanting to like blackball these kids and stuff. It was a big thing at the time, but I thought that was really grotesque and alarming, like of people justifying that stuff because they're like, okay, there's oppressor and the oppressed, and they think that the Israelis are the oppressor here and the colonizers. I remember on TikTok especially, it was very popular for people to just go around calling white people colonizers and talk about how oppressive they were. There was one guy called Modern Warrior, who would open up his TikToks, hey colonizer, hey colonizer, and that was just a thing, and people would, especially other white people who were liberals, would just stand up with him and support him and skyrocket his platform. Now he ended up kind of going into exile because he slept with another, well, I guess with a couple women, and white women and white liberal women, and they paid to fly him out. I'm pretty sure. I think no. I'm sorry. I think they flew to him, and they paid their own flight or something. Well, let's just say he was not a gentleman, and they didn't know that he was sleeping with other women or whatever. And people were like, "Oh, you claim to be a feminist, and you're not really a feminist," and so it was a big debacle on TikTok, and so people started unfollowing him, and he kind of went into exile for a while, but he's back, by the way, and he's still doing his hey colonizer shtick. So if everyone you don't like is a colonizer, everything you don't like it's white privilege, blah blah blah, and if you don't like this thing, we're going to connect it to whiteness in America, and if you, I don't know, stand up for Charlie Kirk, then you're a sellout and all this stuff. What's Eventually they're going to be able to justify violence against you, and that's what a lot of people are doing. Charlie Kirk. I haven't read the piece by Nicole Hannah Jones or Ta-Nehisi Coates in the New York Times. I watched Ben Shapiro show today, and they talked about it. I'll have to maybe go read it myself and give more commentary on it. But there's a lot of people who are trying to diminish our mourning and our grieving about this, and they're trying to make it seem like he's not worth mourning because he's a bad person. And he wasn't a bad person. And Nicole Hannah Jones also, spread the lie that he said that black women don't have the brain processing power. And it's like, no, that's not what he said. And but people don't care. People don't care about whether or not their allegations are true. And I already mentioned this, but let me just reiterate this. We are now moving on to a part of the conversation where people really don't care about the facts, and they don't even want to list the different allegations that are going on. I don't know if you guys can hear like the noise outside, but there's like someone doing like, I think they're doing like tree stuff. And so hopefully you guys can't hear all that kind of noise outside, but it's kind of loud for me. This mic is very good, so I don't know if it's canceling all that out or not, but but I can hear it. But people have begun saying things in my comments like, well, I'm not going, they'll say he said heinous racist things. I'm like, what did he say? Be specific. Now I know what they're talking about because I've had to debunk it and address it so many times. And I'm not the only one. So kudos to all of you out there who've been like correcting the record on Charlie Kirk, who've been like, sharing videos. I know a lot of people share my videos, especially on Facebook. And many people have done their own. As soon as Charlie Kirk died, there was one content creator who did like a debunking the lies on Charlie Kirk. I know Turning Point USA put out a video last week debunking the lies, and I didn't get a chance to see that, but a lot of people are addressing this stuff. So they are aware that some of the stuff that they're saying just isn't true and is being debunked, because now people are like totally refusing to post the screen, the receipts or whatever, post the receipts, because they know that we will just add context to it. Like today, on TikTok, I got a message that, on one of my videos from Mickey Pereira, and it's a black woman, I guess, at least according to the picture. It's unbelievable that you are supporting a man who said horrible gibberish about us minorities. Go ahead and pretend he didn't. God bless. And I said, what did he say? Be specific. And they said, you already know. Everyone knows. It's written everywhere. Not wasting my time with you. Yeah. I think I replied back. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know the lies that people are saying. So I just want to know which lie, deceived you. I want to know which thing deceived you so I can address it. But they don't want the stuff to be addressed. They don't want it to be addressed. There was one. Sorry, let me scroll through all these pictures of raccoons that people put in my comments. There was someone who I said they had wrote an essay, and was some lady from Australia. And I might have to go to Facebook and find it, because I got a lot of screenshots. I've been screenshotting stuff, y'all. Let me go to Facebook. But that wasn't the only. There was another comment today that I got too that was like, oh, if I say something, you guys are just gonna post, oh, the context. And there was also someone last week I was talking to. This was on my author page. I did do like a few Charlie Kirk videos on my personal author page where I don't want to really talk about politics, but it had to deal with like book talk stuff that was going on in Charlie Kirk. So I made a video, and I got a lot of views on it, a decent amount of views, especially for how small that account is right now. And someone was like, oh, he said this racist stuff, and he in this person like actually this person is the one who sent me the video as evidence of a girl saying Charlie Kirk said, we didn't have enough brain processing power. I'm like, okay, well, he didn't say that. So I went back and forth with that person. and I debunked the things that she kept saying. And so she kept posting videos of Charlie Kirk in his own words, but saying the things out of context. I'm like, aren't these his words? Aren't these his words? Aren't these? I'm like, yes, they're his words, but people are chopping them up deceptively without like explaining what was his argument. I'm like, you are an author. Like, you don't understand context. You don't understand like why it's important to understand what he was actually saying, what he meant, like what the actual argument is, why it might be destructive to just take bits and pieces and say that he said a thing. And I'm like, I explained to you why what he said isn't racist. Like, well, I believe it's racist. I'm like, okay, why? I'm like, well, no, we'll just agree to disagree. I want to agree to disagree. I agree that you're wrong. I'm not going to agree to disagree with you slandering somebody and calling them racist and he didn't say anything racist. And you don't even have an argument. I'm like, and they're like, well, I just don't like people canceling people. I'm like, okay, you cannot like that, but I don't appreciate you lying about a dead man. And you just refusing to hear the reality and not caring about the context or anything like that. But now context is a weapon. Context is a weapon. Someone said it was like it was propaganda. Here it is. This isn't the whole comment. Maybe I'll go read the whole comment. Let me see. I don't know if I can find the whole comment. But it was long. I couldn't screenshot the whole comment. I'd have to do multiple. So I just screenshot and I reposted this bit because this was the most interesting one. I mean, this person, they're from Australia, so it's like, you don't even go here. You know, I know tons of people from around the world like listening to American politics and find it interesting and stuff like that. But and we're interested in Charlie Kirk and the things that he said, and he traveled, different places and so on. But they repeated some of the different lies that I could address. And so at first when I'm reading the comment, I'm like, okay, well, I got a video addressing that. I got a video addressing that. I got a video addressing that. I can say this about this comment. And then it got to this portion and I'm like, there's no point in responding to this person. And they said, oh, okay, you just change it to fit your narrative with your smoke and mirrors and watch the whole clip and look at the context. It's just brainwashing BS and doesn't absolve the fact that what he's saying and doing and how he's saying and doing it, you can't just ignore the underlining message, his racially profiling blacks, attacking them as a whole to make concessions away from them. The rights are also brainwashing blacks with this context and watch the whole clip BS, like read between the lines. It's not hard in pointing out the negatives Charlie said and did towards blacks. Is not being victim. It's just pointing out hate and BS. So pointing out the context and saying watch the whole clip is brainwash. No, selectively editing things is propaganda. And it's not just the left that does it. I'll give an example of someone on the right doing it. I wrote an article about this at the time. I was really angry when this was done. But Kathy Barnett, she has a beautiful story about the strength of her mother, who was raped at a very young age. She might have been 11 or 12. And she had Kathy and raised her. So Kathy speaks up for life, including children conceived like she was, and uplifting the strength of her mother. But she decided to she's a black woman. That's relative to the conversation, and you'll see why. So she was running in the Pennsylvania Senate race, and this wasn't the last Senate race; it was the one before it. And so it was her and Dr. Oz and McCormick in the race. I think it was just those three. I don't know if there's any more, but she started kind of surging a bit when there was the debate. And so Donald Trump had endorsed Dr. Oz. Now, why he endorsed Dr. Oz and not McCormick, who has had his, I mean, I guess Dr. Oz had a lot of money too, but, and he's on TVs, and he's in the TV space. So I guess Trump thought Oz would be great or whatever. I don't know. But to me, it's just like, okay, why not this other guy? Whatever. So Donald Trump wanted Dr. Oz to win. And so he had to start speaking up. Now, he didn't say anything negative toward Kathy, like, oh, she's a terrible, terrible person. He didn't say something like that. But he did say, like, that other candidates weren't properly vetted, you know. And I'm like, well, that's a heck of a thing to admit to, because if they're not properly vetted, that's because you didn't vet them. And if you didn't vet them before you endorsed someone, I think that's a problem. I mean, if you're going to endorse someone, shouldn't you know other people in the race and what they're going to bring to the table, and if that person that you're supporting is actually the best candidate? So to me, that made him look bad. But Rick Grinnell decided to share a video about Kathy, and it was an insidious chop up, just not very good. Like, you could just tell it was like clip, 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 just all chopped up to make her look like a black activist, like a radical, like pro BLM person. And it was really grotesque for him to share that, and other people to just kind of be pushing that, to get Dr. Oz in and diminish her. And one thing that they talked about that she pushed was not even pushed, like she like, had said something about, and they were pushing, they're having different stories or whatever on Fox News about her too. She had once said something like, we could have a statue of Obama. People like, oh, conservatives wouldn't want a statue of Obama. Her point was about American progress, and she was like, you could have Frederick Douglass and MLK and then Obama. Whether you like Obama or not, he is the first like black president, or half of him is anyway. So would it be like, and I think it was supposed to be like, hey, instead of you guys tearing down all these statues, why don't we like build a positive one? Was her whole entire pitch. So I hated how they tried to take her out of context. I hated how they just chopped up videos of her. Like, making political hits and videos and stuff, I got paid professionally to do it. 2016, oh my gosh. I worked for the Michigan Republican Party from 2015 to 2017. That era when Trump won that first term, I was on fire, guys. I I made a ton of videos for the Michigan Republican Party and graphics and so on. If you saw a video of Hillary Clinton and it said 50 reasons not to vote for Hillary Clinton, I'm the one who made that. I'm the one who made that. So when I would make a video and chop up different stuff, when I was trying to tell a narrative, my goal was to never put something in there that was out of context. So if someone decided to look up the original clip for the point that I'm making and using the clip for, they would not go, aha, this person is a liar. They would go look up more information themselves and see that it's maybe even worse than what I even presented, or that I at least told the story accurately. I did not believe in making hit jobs against political opponents that were dishonest. There was a Republican that was running for something in this past election, and people were like, hey, can you do an ad? Can you say this thing? And the thing that they wanted me to say, I'm like, I don't think that's true. And I'm like, I can't say that. Like, no, not me. I like, you got to find someone else. I'm like, I don't think the attack that they wanted to launch against their opponent was a true statement. So I'm like, my hands are clean of that. I'm not going to participate in lying about someone just to stop them from getting elected. So, I I hate when people do it. I hate it. I know that's not how a lot of other people engage in that kind of business. And it's, Harry Reid lied about Mitt Romney not paying his taxes. And then after they asked him later about it, it's like, well, you lied about that. He's like, I don't care. He didn't win. Like, so there's people who feel like definitely winning at any cost. I don't know. I feel like my soul is still like not worth that kind of cost, or my conscience or my integrity. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to lie. If you should be able to win on the merits of your ideas and your background, like your resume or whatever, like and you have to be able to effectively communicate your message and effectively communicate why your opponent is bad, but don't do it in a deceptive way. So all these people making these chopped up Charlie Kirk stuff, it's so evil. Like I told you guys, people were sharing a clip of Charlie Kirk saying, "Oh well, I would love to see people get publicly executed to be," and they're like, "Oh, this is the person you support." And it's like, okay, but why did you chop out the part where he was clearly talking about public execution of pedophiles? There's a reason why you chopped it out. Because I think maybe not most people, but a lot of people will go like, maybe they wouldn't want to necessarily see the public execution, but they would prefer if that person was publicly executed. You know, a lot of people would share that sentiment, but they chop that out because they don't want Charlie Kirk to seem like a reasonable person. They want him to seem like a monster. And he got publicly executed, just like he supported people getting publicly executed, or he believed that gun deaths were worth it. Now he's a gun statistic. Okay, he didn't say that either. He said as long as we have a population that is armed, it's just going to be inevitable that some people are going to die. And is that reality? We're still having the freedom of the Second Amendment. Yes, even like it's worth having the freedom of driving cars, even though you're going to have like 50,000 people die every year from some kind of automobile accident. And I point out to people, unless you want to confiscate every single gun in America, you also agree with Charlie Kirk because you believe that even though people will still use their guns, whether it's gun violence in gangs or people, taking their own life through suicide, you still believe that it's worth some people being able to have the right to go to carry a firearm so they can go hunting and all that other kind of stuff. So it's just really, really nuts to me that we're at this point where people are now saying, well, I'm not even gonna post the things because you're just gonna say watch the whole clip. You're just gonna say look at the whole context. Ooh, that's brainwashing propaganda. To say look at the context. Look at the context. That's where we're at in all this, guys. You just have to affirm and believe the lie. You have to affirm and believe the lie. But you know what's good about this though? That people have gone so far in this direction. It must be because we're doing a good job putting out the fires. We're doing a good job dispelling the myths, and they don't like that so many people are actually looking up this stuff, seeing what Charlie Kirk said, and being like, you know what, I think that makes sense. And he actually, oh my gosh, he didn't actually say the thing that these people are saying. There's this one guy who keeps doing videos about Charlie Kirk, a black guy, on TikTok, and the first one I saw of him was like, y'all made me obsessed with Charlie Kirk. He's like, all y'all talking about him, all y'all mocking him and so on. So I decided to go look him up myself. And the things that you guys said that he said he didn't say. And he seems like he's a really good guy. So he started continuously commenting, and then he started debunking the lies that people said about Charlie Kirk. And then calling out like so-called Christians who were trashing him and so on. So he's still on a roll with that content. And I've seen other black people who are like, I didn't know that much about Charlie Kirk. And then I start looking at his stuff. And one guy was like, man, I didn't know him before, but I really feel like we just lost a really good guy. And he was really sad because like, I hope that like the history, when people look back at him, people don't think of him as a racist. He's like, I really believe we lost a good guy. So they don't want people to look at the clips because they don't want the message of Charlie Kirk to continue on. They don't want it to spread. And they're not only continuing to attack him, they're attacking Erica. I've seen so many people mock Erica when she forgave the shooter. I've seen so many people mock her, um, you know, when she said forgive him, and the way that she was looking. They're like, oh, I don't see no tears. This is performative. Oh, the whispers, all that stuff. And this commentary around how people are supposed to act and grieve when they die is disgusting. And it's not just people on the left. There's people on the right who don't want to buy, I don't know, the official narrative and want to run down conspiracy world. And they're like, I don't know, maybe they don't like that now there's a woman who's going to be ahead of the turning point, but she was on the show and sharing memories about her husband, and it made her smile and stuff. And they're like, oh, she wanted it to happen. She's too happy about this. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. As many of you know, my mom passed away last year. And I you guys have seen me cry a couple times, but I haven't cried, I don't think, a lot publicly. I've cried many times to myself. I don't feel like it was probably like an extreme amount of crying or whatever. I had maybe like 2 breakdowns. Um, but at the funeral, I don't think I really cried. Um, I don't think I really cried. There was one time at the wake when we were all like coming together to take a picture. And it was at her wake, at her repast. And as we were all just getting together to take a picture, I was like, "Mom, where's mom?" Like, it, because it just still felt so foreign, like so weird. So I kind of teared up then. But at the actual funeral, I didn't really cry. Let me tell you why. It's not because I loved her any less, and it wasn't an emotional day, or that the gravity of it all kind of didn't hit me or whatever. One, I was very focused in getting things done. I was very focused in getting things done when my mom died. I put together the obituary. I designed it. I wrote the stuff. I wrote the different posts, that we put on Facebook for people that knew about the times, and the one that the post that alerted everybody when she was gone. People were like, "Man, your dad really wrote that beautiful thing for your mom." I'm like, "No, he didn't." That was me, but okay, I was like, I was doing those things. I arranged for the details for the food, like after the funeral and stuff. We got the place together, the church and all that stuff. I didn't do everything alone, but I don't think my siblings would dispute that I did a lot of stuff. And I was just focused. And then at the same time, when you're doing all these things, I don't know, it still feels like, I don't know, you're running in mud, like thick mud that's like waist deep. And so even though like I do graphic design and stuff, it just seemed to take longer. Like even putting the program and stuff together, just in your mind, it's just you got to get through stuff, but it's still hard to get through. But I was focused on getting stuff done. The day of the funeral, I knew I was going to sing a song that my mom really, really likes called Going Up Yonder. And I didn't want to mess up the song. And I didn't want to like cry and not be able to get through it. So I just had to be like in the mindset of, I'm going to do the song. I'm not going to cry. I arranged the like who was speaking when, at what times, and when I was going to sing, like before like all my other siblings got up to talk, because I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't cry and like mess up my voice, because I knew I had to perform. I wanted to do that for the people, and I wanted to do it for my mom. So I just like wasn't going to cry. I just put myself in that headspace. I put on a dress that day that my mom bought, so I looked cute. I put on one of them like girdle panty things that I got from the TikTok shop that has boning on the panty, like high-waisted panties. I had my high-heeled shoes, did my hair up in a bun. I was wearing my mom's jewelry, and we all looked nice that day. you can put on waterproof whatever, but it may, I don't know, if you cry too much, I don't know how much that stuff holds. And so I mean, I'm mentioning this because people were like, "Oh, she got on her makeup and all this stuff," as if she was supposed to show up at the memorial busted looking or whatever, in sackcloth and ashes. No, like she knew she was addressing the world. I'm assuming she knew that she planned to forgive him publicly in front of the world. Um, so she's in that headspace to do that. So I got up there and I sang the song and I did not cry. I even knew that I wasn't going to say anything until after the song, because if I said something before the song, I probably would have cried. And I don't even think I really cried like after that. Um, you know, my sister Katrina, the one right above me in age, there's 7 of us, 6 girls, 1 boy. The the day my mom died, she cried herself sick, like literally cried herself sick, which is kind of funny because my mom would always say, "What you crying for? You're gonna stop that. You're gonna make yourself sick." So, and she had like a country Detroit accent. Never lived in the South, but like people would migrate up from the South and just like have a Detroit country accent. She was raised by people with that accent, so she kind of had one herself. Didn't kind of, she had one. She couldn't say Chicago, she would say Chicago. I'm like, why are you saying Chicago? She couldn't say funeral and some other words, but my mom was great. She cried, and she was really breaking down and stuff at the funeral too. But she at first she didn't want to say anything at the funeral. And so when I was getting the arrangements and stuff together for the church, one person who was like my contact there, she told me that she spoke at her dad's funeral and she had contemplating not doing it, but then she decided it was really important to do it. And so after she shared her story, I told my siblings, because a lot of them didn't, quite a few of them, I don't think wanted to say anything. And I just shared that story of, her saying, saying something and being glad. But I think there was a song that she wanted to sing and she didn't end up singing it though. And she was very upset that she didn't do that. And so she was very glad that I was going to sing the song for my mom. And so since she had that regret about not singing the song at her dad's funeral, I'm like, guys, you don't want to regret not saying something. So they all said something. And Katrina, she decided the way that she could get through it was to make her speech about mom really silly. Like she told like really funny things in like the 2-minute span to get through it. So all these people judging Erica Kirk, I was gonna say, like, you just don't know what it's like to go something like that, but nobody does. Nobody knows what it's like to go through what just happened to her. This is such a unique situation, and I've seen other people. I saw a video this weekend, and someone said, does anyone else have like anxiety and like nightmares about what happened to Charlie Kirk? This isn't someone who knew him, but she saw. I mean, she was, I guess, a fan, but she saw what happened because the video was viral, and the brutality of it, and all these people celebrate it. It's giving people PTSD or just anxiety, like trouble sleeping. I haven't. My sleep's been jacked up since it happened myself. So these people who just are mocking her, they don't understand how people act when someone passes away. It's really, really gross. It's really gross. So there's a story going on TikTok. There's a content creator called Hannah Brown. I didn't know who Hannah Brown was before this, and I still haven't watched her content, but Hannah Brown, she makes content about being in the service industry and just does little skits, little fun little skits. and she's a big content creator on TikTok. So someone found out that she went to Charlie Kirk's memorial. And then they did several videos about it, I guess. And then other people started doing videos on, oh my gosh, she went to this Charlie Kirk memorial. She in MAGA? She MAGA? So she did a video saying, yes, she went to the memorial. She said, I believe she said she's not MAGA. I think she's on the right, but you can be on the right and not MAGA. Right? So I guess it doesn't really matter to people anyway. But folks still came after her, and she lost like 200,000 subscribers, I think. And then people like started mass following her on the right because of how she was being attacked. And so she basically has gained back that loss. And then there's this other really big content creator who's like, do you guys not know? And I don't know if he's on the right or whatever. I would assume, I don't know. But he said, do you guys really not know that conservatives are just like ordinary, everyday people? Like, did you guys just assume because she was a service worker that she was on the left? And he's like, look at like the exit polling based off of income. It's not that the lower, the Democrats, they're like the party of like the upper elites, blue collar, like low income people, middle class, they're voting Republican. It's half the country, guys. So is it really so strange that someone who talked about the service industry was a Republican and might have gone to a Charlie Kirk memorial? And then people are trying to dissect her stuff. We're like, oh, well, maybe it was MAGA coded the whole time. And maybe she was actually mocking the servers and not the customers who were like rude to her. Or maybe you just don't understand humans. And I haven't addressed it yet on TikTok. Again, I hadn't heard of Hannah Brown. But if you are so pressed and so upset about someone going to a memorial, something is wrong with you. There's just something wrong with you. I went to the Charlie Kirk memorial. You guys know that I sang not that big one in Phoenix, but I think it was in Phoenix, but it was in Arizona. I went to one in Shelby Township in Michigan, and I sang 2 songs. One of them original, another one I sing in church a lot. And my sister had shared it, and someone got upset, and they're like, oh, Charlie Kirk was this and that. And so we started going back and forth. And I'm like, I think it's really like low character of you to even address this. I'm singing, it's literally a post about me singing a gospel song at a memorial, and you are so triggered by this. Something's deeply wrong with you. Something's deeply wrong with you. Think about how many funerals you go to. Some people don't go to many funerals. I've gone to a lot of funerals. Just church kid, big family, dad being a pastor. You go to a lot of funerals. A lot of them ain't got nothing to do with you. But I've gone to funerals, and people don't tend to get up and talk about how low down, dirty people are at memorials or funerals like that. They tend to focus on positive things, even if you know that the person wasn't very good. Even if you know that person died from an overdose, people don't get up there and start talking about they were low down such and such and such. People share memories that they're fond of. They share, encouraging stories. They share, funny stories, things for people to cherish and hold on to, because at the end of the day, that's a life, that's a human, and to live is good, and life is inherently valuable, and that human being is inherently valuable. So you don't get up and trash talk people at their funerals. Maybe people do it. I've been to a lot of funerals. I don't think I have seen that. Even knowing that there could be baby mama drama. I have seen some of that, but like nobody like dissing the person who that maybe like saying a dig or something that like a slight kind of trigger, as the other woman or something. But never someone just getting up and trashing someone. I haven't experienced it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm sure it does. But I would went to a funeral. I didn't know the person who died. Some people had just joined the church, and they're like, "Oh, this person in our family, they just died, and he was a good boy." And they made us go to the funeral. I'm like, "What?" I'm like, I know they're like new members, but they're fresh. And I certainly didn't like how they left the church, but that's like another story. But um and we don't know these people. And my dad just like made all of us go. And this person must have been a gang member or something, because there was a lot of cops there. Like some that were there to let their presence be known, some that were undercover. And people were dressed in interesting ways that just kind of screamed, "We are from a gang." And somebody even got up, very emotional person. It was just like, "That's my N-word. That's my N-word." And he's like, "Wait, no, this is messed up. This is messed up. We ain't never gonna be able to smoke no blunt no more." And yeah. So that was one of the oddest funerals I had been to. But most people don't tend to get up and say negative things about the person who's died. And even if they're not the greatest person in the world, even if they've made a lot of mistakes, maybe they've even done some bad things, people still go to memorials and funerals to pay their respects. Sometimes people go and it's nothing to even do about the person who died. Sometimes they're just there to support someone else. Sometimes they're just there to support someone else. My principal, when I went to Holly High, his mother passed away. I went to that funeral, and actually his dad, the principal, his dad taught my dad. So we went to the funeral. It was the first Catholic funeral I'd ever been to. Lots of standing and sitting down. Just these people are sick. Kit Kat said, "Church kid, big family. Dad is a preacher. Grandpa is a preacher. Yep, can confirm many funerals." Jeffree Star also had issues with people unfollowing him. Jeffree Star was live when he found out about what happened to Charlie Kirk, and then was addressing some of the people in his comments about like transgender stuff. And a lot of people did start following Jeffree Star. Jeffree Star comes in my feed. I didn't start following him, but he comes in my feed in my algorithm now. He didn't before. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about I'm sorry, not Erica Kirk, but let's talk about JK Rowling, because was supposed to be like the lead story. We're almost an hour in, but so we're probably gonna at least go to 5:30. Sorry to the person I have to pick up, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit. They're used to it. So before I jump into the JK Rowling story, I do want to point out that Eric Adams did drop out of the New York mayor race. It might not do anything, but I just wanted to point out that's pretty big news. Yesterday he announced that he was dropping out. So JK Rowling has been a target for a lot of criticism when it comes to the transgenderism movement, because she has been an outspoken critic, because not because she's homophobic or any or whatever. She just refuses to play along with this idea that men can become women. And much of her life, including being assaulted, stems around the fact that she just experienced her life as a woman, and she knows what that's like. And she knows what it's like to be vulnerable and the weaker sex physically, and to know that you need resources and separate sex categories, including women who go to women's shelters. Like, they deserve that safety, assurance, and privacy. And those are sorts of things that she's tried to stand up for. And she has funded, causes to try to protect women. And she's been outspoken about trying to stand for women and protect women when they are attacked by the trans lobby. And she is very rich and very powerful because of her success with the Harry Potter franchise. And you know, maybe she doesn't have um well, I was gonna say not doesn't have much to lose, but that's I mean she's gotten a lot of threats, death threats, rape threats. She has security, sure, and she can afford it, but people shouldn't have to live like that. Um, you know, she's not losing sleep over money or whatever, but she certainly, I'm sure, has lost friendships and other things like that. Um, and but I guess if people would, you know, come at you for stating facts and stuff and treat you like the devil for that, maybe they weren't good friends to begin with. But so I don't want to say she does she's not someone who can't lose anything because she I don't know, she's put a lot on the line, but there's other people who don't have the kind of resources that she has. So anyway, Emma Watson, who played Hermione, who was supposed to be the brainy one, she's been very pro transgender movement and an ally, and so has Dan Ratcliffe, who played you know, Harry Potter himself. Uh, the person who played Malfoy, Draco Malfoy, we talked about him some time ago because he's very grateful to the Harry Potter franchise, and someone tried to pull him in with some kind of drama to kind of, I don't know, baited him into saying something bad about JK Rowling, and he would not do it. He would not do it. So kudos to him, but the other Potter kids um have not been as wise or gracious, and they have tried to feed this transgender monster. So anyway, Emma Watson went viral because she was talking about JK Rowling, and the transgender movement wasn't happy that she kind of waffled and tried to play both sides here. And she didn't take a strong stance at all, but they were still angry with this comment.
Ever cancel her out or cancel that out for anything. It has to remain true. It is true. And this is where this like holding of these, I just don't know what else to do other than hold these two seemingly incompatible things together at the same time and just hope maybe they will one day resolve or co-join themselves, and maybe accept that they never will, but that they can both still be true. And I can love her. I can know she loved me. I can be grateful to her. I can know the things that she said are true. And there can be this whole other thing. And my job feels like to just hold all of it. But the bigger thing is just what she's done will never be taken away from me. Ever.
So, the idea that, I don't know, you can hold this stuff and it can be true, and just go ahead and say that she's right. Men cannot be women, and just leave it at that. You were pandering, wanted to be the ally, and men can't be women. Men cannot be women. It's just really that simple. We can't hold space for both things. We can know that people believe that, but that believing it shouldn't grant you access to women's spaces and their sports teams, their prisons, their spas, their sororities. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. And warping the definition of a woman, like, well, a woman is whoever performs, you know, as we expect women to perform in society, or whatever, you know, kind of jargon they try to push. It's like, okay, this definition that you are duct taping together still has no bearing on why we want men or males to not come in our bathrooms, or why we don't want males to play in our sports team. So however you're contorting the word gender, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, it's inherently unfair. You know it. You know it. These people know it. Anyway, JK Rowling, I'll play this clip right here, because then I want to read what she said that's a repost of this.
Well, I'd like to think so. And I think there are some other positive signs too that things are shifting. When you see the media starting to say trans women are men, then I think we really are winning. But Emma Watson was careful, wasn't she, not to go too far. I think what she's going to find now is you can't sit on the fence. She was a real cheerleader for Mermaids, the charity, and for transitioning children and for people knowing who they are.
There's also kind of there's that clip of her at the BAFTAs, and it was just kind of like a really snidey, there's that bit where she says, I'm here for all the witches, like, but one. Or what, yeah, it was just nasty.
Yeah.
Right when JK Rowling was getting a lot of rape threats, death threats.
So whether she is trying to row back from that full-hearted support for transitioning children, or whether she's just trying to get back in with JK Rowling in the hope of work, who knows? Richard Dawkins is an interesting case because, you know, I'm sure when he wrote The God Delusion, he thought that was quite out there. It turns out that saying men can't become women is even more out there. And who would have thought that? But he is someone whose career is so established that he's not at any risk. The real win is when ordinary people can say those things. And I don't think we're quite there yet.
Yeah. Real ordinary people need to be able to say that men cannot be women. But let's get into this epic JK Rowling tweet. I'm seeing quite a bit of comment about this, so I want to make a couple of points. I'm not owed eternal agreement from any actor who once played a character I created. The idea is as ludicrous as me checking with the boss I had when I was 21 for what opinions I should hold these days. Emma Watson and her co-stars have every right to embrace gender identity ideology. Such beliefs are legally protected, and I wouldn't want to see any of them threatened with loss of work or violence or death because of them. However, Emma and Dan, in particular, have both made it clear over the last few years that they think our former professional association gives them a particular right, nay, obligation, to critique me and my views in public. Years after they finish acting in Potter, they continue to assume the role of de facto spokespeople for the world I created. When you've known people since they were 10 years old, it's hard to shake a certain protectiveness. Until quite recently, I hadn't managed to throw off the memory of children who needed to be gently coaxed through their dialogue in a big, scary film studio. For the past few years, I've repeatedly declined invitations from journalists to comment on Emma specifically, most notably on the witch trials of JK Rowling. Ironically, I told the producers that I didn't want her to be hounded as the result of anything I said. The television presenter in the attached clip highlights Emma's all witches speech, and in truth, that was a turning point for me, but it had a postscript that hurt far more than the speech itself. Emma asked someone to pass on a handwritten note from her to me, which contained the single sentence, "I'm so sorry for what you're going through. She has my phone number." This was back when the death, rape, and torture threats against me were at their peak, at a time when my personal security measures had to be tightened considerably, and I was constantly worried for my family's safety. Emma had just publicly poured more petrol into the flames, and yet thought that one line expression of concern from her would reassure me of her fundamental sympathy and kindness. Like other people who've never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life, she's ignorant of how ignorant she is. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She's never going to be placed on a mixed sex public hospital ward. I'd be astounded if she's been in a high street changing room since childhood. Her public bathroom is a single occupancy and comes with a security man standing guard outside the door. Has she had to strip off in a newly mixed sex changing room at a council-run swimming pool? Is she ever likely to need a state-run rape crisis center that refuses to guarantee an all-female service, to provide herself sharing a prison cell with a male rapist who's identified into the women's prison? I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. I therefore understand from my own life experience what the trashing of a woman's rights, in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated, means to women and girls without privileges. The greatest irony here is that had Emma not decided in her most recent interview to declare that she loves and treasures me, a change of tack I suspect she's adopted because she's noticed the full-throated condemnation of me is no longer quite as fashionable as it was, I might never have been this honest. Adults can't expect to cozy up to an activist movement that regularly calls for a friend's assassination, then assert their right to the former friend's love as though the friend was in fact their mother. Emma is rightly free to disagree with me and indeed to discuss her feelings about me in public, but I have the same right, and I've finally decided to exercise it. Boom. Don't tick off an author, guys. Sometimes people are like, "Ooh, Christina, your comebacks." I'm like, I'm a writer. She's ignorant of how ignorant she is, and that's true. You see, you have all these really privileged people, a lot of them affluent white women, if we're just gonna be frank, who go and they push all this garbage to make themselves feel virtuous and righteous, but they are totally just demoralized, pushing these things that are objectively not true at the detriment of their own sex. And it's just really wild. It's really, really wild. And then people were upset about like Emma even like giving her waffly, kind of answer. Let me see if I can find any of those tweets that I had saved the other day. But Blue Sky, people were upset about her comments. And here we go. Here's some of them. Some people are comparing her to Trump. As with Emma Watson, Donald Trump would have never been president if he didn't have the power of the people constantly talking about him and beefing about him to generate that media power. He needed to become POTUS. Quick talking about bacteria. They're really not that bleeping important. Very bad take from Emma Watson. She is showing that she is no ally. She used trans rights to boost her career. Now she's abandoning us when we need her. She needs to apologize or face the consequences. Look at that profile title. It's a pity Emma Watson decided to equivocate about fascism. Oh well. At least we've still got Daniel Radcliffe. Well, Emma Watson can bleep right on off. Bigotry and Christo-fascist anti-science viewpoints are not options or disagreements. It's just bigotry and willful ignorance and extremely dangerous to the safety of minorities. Okay. So yeah, people were not happy with Emma Watson for just saying we can hold these two ideas together at the same time. Well, you can't, because your side is crazy. You sided with crazy people who reject natural order, God's design, if you want to call it, who reject objective reality, facts, science, biology, whatever. They reject it. But if she wants to, I don't know, she wants to rebuild that relationship, but I wouldn't if I was JK Rowling. Like, for what? And in this fight to protect women, Emma has been on the other side, a strong advocate on the other side to push against women's rights. That's insane to me. But that's the reality of what she did. Anyway, good on JK Rowling for being a passionate defender of women's rights, pouring her money into it, standing up for different women who have been targeted because of that ideology, and them standing up for what is true. So I'm glad that the tide is turning, and I'm glad that, you see it over in, in the UK and stuff. And I'm glad that the tide turned here. Someone had pushed back against me saying that Charlie Kirk, he's criticized the Civil Rights Act, and he said he didn't like, how people were like abusing it. He also said like stuff, dealing with disparate impacts and stuff, how people use it, he doesn't like. But he mentioned that the trans community was trying to use, that kind of stuff to get into women's bathrooms. So someone's like, no one's ever used that to get into a bathroom. And so I brought up a case. It didn't go before the Supreme Court, but it was like the Equal Opportunity or whatever commission or whatever ruled in the favor of a trans identifying male who worked for the Army, and there was a single sex bathroom where he's supposed to go pee, but if it was out of order, whatever reason, he didn't want to use it. He was scolded if he would go into the women's bathroom, and he was also upset because people wouldn't use his pronouns or whatever. So they ended up finding that he was discriminated against, and then Obama, the court, I guess, had ruled against trans stuff in the past, and Obama did an executive order, and that's why they could read it the way that they want to, and I guess determined that he was discriminated against. And then that was like repealed later, I guess, in the Trump era or whatever. So they're like, well, they can't use that now, I guess maybe is their point. And I'm like, okay, but they did use it, and successfully it was ruled that he was discriminated against. But the point is that he did try, right? Like, I proved you wrong, that they want to use this stuff to advance their agenda. Come on. If he doesn't like admit that he was wrong, I'm just gonna probably block the guy, because I just can't don't want to go back and forth with people who won't like admit that they are wrong or whatever. But you're stealing the white man in addresses right to use your public places, fascist. I guess that's what makes people fascist nowadays. Before I let you guys go, I want to share with you guys something, a conversation out. If you're watching from Facebook, you probably have already seen it. But I want to share with you guys some screenshots of this conversation that I was having. Again, about Charlie Kirk, but someone came in my comments and stuff and said, racist stuff. And there's a lot of racist comments that I get all the time. By the way, let me address that later. But oh gosh. It's really small on the screen. Okay, well, it's on. Let me see if I can. It's on Facebook. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to read it because it's coming up small. But yeah, it's, I don't know, it might be too small for you guys to see. Let me see if I can Yep, not getting any bigger. Okay. Well, I can't. It's too tiny for me to read on that screen, so let me pull it up on my phone. But I just thought this was so funny, and kudos to my followers, because you guys are just like warriors in the comments, going back and forth with some of these people. And this Brian in particular, who this was just really funny. So this guy came in my comments, said, "Yes, massa." And I said, "Have you considered the reason why you engage in racist attacks is because you lack the brain processing power to come up with logical responses?" And he's like, "Yes, massa, save me, please." And which I don't know why you'd be calling me massa unless you think I'm a white oppressor, because usually when people will say that you are, I don't know, people have used the massa thing on me, but they direct it toward like as if Charlie Kirk or the Republicans are my massa. So I don't know why he's calling me massa multiple times, but Brian is pretty funny here. He said, Black Tea, is G Spears for sale? He seems to think that he is your slave. If he is a slave, then as a Republican, I will pay for his manumission and education so he can be a free man. We Republicans cannot abide slavery. And then then the G guy got mad and said, so this white man just publicly called me a black man, a slave on your page, and he's one of your subscribers. And this is the type of person you align yourself with. He said that he would buy my freedom. So obviously he has no respect for you, me, or any other black person. Utterly disgraceful and disgusting statements, but you responded to my comments immediately, deeming them ignorant. I'm curious to see if you will have the favor in condemning his racist comments. If you don't admonish his statements, then you are exactly what I thought you were, a self-hating race baiter tap dancing for a pat on the head from Massa Spineless. And I said, maybe he said you... let me go to the next slide. I said, maybe he said you think you're a slave because your first comment to me was massa. If you can't track a conversation, maybe you should stick to YouTube Kids videos. You truly are like a child, the kind who pulls their sister's hair, and when they retaliate, you cry as if you're a little victim. You are a grown man. Stop embarrassing yourself. So Brian did comment after that. And he had commented too, but he I think he deleted his comments, so I can't see them, the new comment. But Brian had said, you called her massa twice with your own slave mentality. I will pay for your freedom if you really are a slave. If not, then stop playing victim by talking like a slave. So Brian, that was hilarious. That I will, as a Republican, I will buy his freedom. But the fact that he would turn around and say, how dare you call me a slave after you come and attack me, you expect me to do what? Reprimand my subscriber for standing up for me after. And I think it said something like the comment that got deleted after my comment about go to YouTube Kids or whatever if you can't track a conversation. He said something like, oh, you're exactly who I knew you were, and I'm not going to take anything that you say seriously. You think I think that you're taking my comments seriously? I mean, serious in a way that maybe you think they're dangerous or whatever, so you have to respond, and they upset you and your emotions or whatever. So I think that you take them seriously, but do you want your mind changed? Are you open to that? Are you engaging in good faith? No. If you're going to open up with these different insults, which by the way, if you're going to come at me and you're going to attack my character with like ad hominem fallacies or whatever, or you're going to attack my appearance, or you're going to call me all these other kinds of names or whatever, and you don't want to engage in the argument, I take that as a win. It's an automatic, I won the debate. Because if you had something that was worth saying, if you had some kind of argument, I'm going to assume that you would have said it. I'm going to assume that's what you would have led with. So if you're going to just drop AI generated photos of raccoons, which I have gotten so many, I take that as a win. My feelings aren't hurt because you've revealed yourself to be a buffoon. I'm not offended by that. Screenshot it, another one in the collection, I guess. So there was someone on the TikTok shop buying little they had like a 3D printed little raccoon that lived in a trash can. I'm like, I should probably buy that as much as I get called a coon. Maybe sell it on the TikTok shop myself. Okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings that you all want to present yourself like buffoons. It doesn't. I think it's sad. But you know what? Just disclaimer, if you say something like that racist to me, There's a good chance I'm going to screenshot your comments. I might take a screenshot of your profile. I'm not going to block out your name. No way. I'm going to repost it on my page. I'm not going to do it every time because it's too many or whatever. But I will repost it on my page. I will link back to your original comment so my followers can go and debate you. I'm say my piece, but I ain't got time to go back and forth with everybody all day. But if they want to do it, Brian, he asked for the links. He's like, "Where's the link to that post?" Thank you, Brian. So you're gonna have to deal with, like, I don't know, maybe a couple comments, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of replies. And everyone will know how much of a moron you are. And there's going to be documented evidence of it because I think it's worth shaming you. And I want people to know, like, that racism is alive and well. People are like, Republicans, oh, they always act like racism does this. It does. It does exist because the people who are complaining about it all the time are the ones who are racist. That's my experience. That these race peddlers are the racist ones. That's my experience. And I got evidence, plenty of it. So I want people to know. And I want people to know about the hypocrisy. So I'll make you famous. Don't post something in my comments that will end up embarrassing you, because I will embarrass you. And even if you don't end up embarrassed, guess what? Facebook, they apparently pay for every post now. So the interaction there, I'm getting a couple cents after it every time it happens. So I'm going to monetize your stupidity too. So it all benefits Black Tea. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just so we're clear. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com. Check out the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the site, because it does cost a stream on my site. All the good stuff you guys can support. I very much do appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out my different merchandise. Like, I have different mugs. I have like different t-shirts, like You Are Not That Special. I got some, XX Club XX shirts and stuff, which I wore that when I walked around. Well, I was doing some exercises and stuff, and then I decided to go into one of my favorite stores, and there was a trans person working there. I'd never seen him working there before. It's a male, and he kept looking at me like very strange, and I'm just like, I'm smiling, I'm like being very friendly, like, but I just felt like this awkwardness. I'm like, I couldn't place it. I'm like, what am I giving off that's like getting this sort of reaction? And I didn't realize I had this shirt on until after I left the store. That said Club XX lifetime membership. So that could have been it. That could have been it. Reminder, by the time you see me tomorrow, my link to Bigger should be up. I'm going to try to figure it out tonight. I don't know what's going on with the back end of the site. But I'll try to figure out the thing that I want to do at checkout. And then when I do, I will post it. And I'm very excited about people being able to buy Bigger. If you live in another country, though, if you do not live in the domestic United States of America, it would be very expensive to ship it to you. And I don't know if you want to do if you want to work that out, I guess we can. But it ain't cheap. It is not cheap. The flat rate for like shipping overseas. Someone said, finally admitting it, you're doing it for the money. You should, but whatever. You get, first of all, it's not that much money. Enough to, anyway, finally admitting you're doing it for the money. You should do well. I know Candace Owens did. I only say this because you guys have the same content. I do not have the same content as Candace Owens, and you are a dirty liar. Have you watched Candace Owens stuff lately? It's Jews this, Jews that, Israel this, Prime Minister of France married a man. Like, are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious? I'm gonna let me print screen cap this and make a video about it. And monetize it. Which this episode is also monetized. But yeah, I mean, guys, come on, you know that people do videos and they're monetizing stuff. Like, is that really so odd? But yeah, if I'm going to take your racist content that you guys are leaving in my comments and make a positive out of it. We're gonna get some entertainment. And by the way, Facebook just like changed the structure of this stuff too. So I did this stuff anyway. I did it for free. I did it for free. They said, "Oh, you know what content I'm talking about." I've always commented about Candace Owens, dude. Like, you don't watch my content, you don't watch enough of hers to know that our stuff is not the same. Like, for real. Why do you assume we have the same content? Why do you assume? Because we don't. Why are you assuming we have the same content? Questions. My sister's like, oh no, she'll be able to buy groceries from her hate comments, the inhumanity. Yeah, like, be for real. So let me make sure that I can use your comments later. Look for the video, Derek. Anyway, thank you guys, and I'll see you later.